Hello friends, welcome back. And if you're new here, I'm Meg. I post free hair tutorials every single Monday. And this week I will be showing you how I did this spring split hair. So I will be using Danger Jones semi-permanent colors. I wanted to keep it pastel, but also kind of neon and peachy. So we have quite the mixture for our orange. 50 grams of Hotwire, 60 grams of Simpatico, 30 grams of Antique, and 25 grams of Burnout. Hotwire is like the neon orange, Simpatico is a peach, Antique is a very pastel rose gold, and Burnout is the regular orange. Melting into 15 grams of Ray Gun, which is the neon yellow, and Star Rider, which is the marigold on our left side. And then on the right side, our pink is going to be 20 grams of Cheap Date and 5 grams of Hustler. I also used my B3 Bond Builder in all my bowls of semi-permanent color. And right now I am just melting these two colors down into my peach color, and I'm splitting everything down the middle. I like to do each section at the same time, so that way I know that each side matches up perfectly. So I'll take that section and split it in half. I'm keeping them fairly small because I do have to hit all the way to her base. And even though these are pretty small, I'll usually still split them in half again. But I really paint through there, and then I just kind of melt that color down just like that. And I really blend and check both sides and make sure that they match up perfectly before I paint the other colors in. And then you can see how much I am like blending and feathering and using my two fingers to really get those two colors together, because I don't want any lines. I want it to be super blended. Same thing on my pink side. And this color combo works great because either direction on the color wheel, that is the next color to orange. So the orange is going to melt really nicely into the yellow as well as the pink. There's not going to be any weird in between colors like will happen if you do like a turquoise into an orange, for instance. So this is going to melt flawlessly as long as you blend them really good. You can see there how I split that section, making sure that the roots are completely covered and really pulling this down. So I do want to talk about her base a little bit. If you go back to episode 5, I show how I lift Sarah's base now. I use high lift color on her. We have not used lightener in over a year. We have only done high lift color, and that's all she needs, and it is awesome. It has been so great for her hair. But I have been waiting to try the Danger Jones high lift color, and I have not been able to get my hands on it yet. It is sold out every time I go to Cosmoprof. So I'm going to have to order through a rep here pretty soon. But as soon as I get that new Danger Jones high lift color, I will definitely be doing a video showing how it works. I have episode 5, like I was saying, using Kevin Murphy color, and that is what I use this time on Sarah as well. That is what I'm using now until I can get my hands on some of that Danger Jones. But going back to our semi-permanent, as you can see, I am just following this exact same pattern up the head. And like I said, doing both sides at the same time and not painting those ends on until I can see that they perfectly match up with my orangey peach color. The other thing you'll notice is that I am always standing in front of my section when I am painting it. Just like when you are cutting hair, your body language and direction that you're standing in is so important. So you'll always see that when I'm doing these ones on the side, I'm pulling them toward their front. So that way everything has that gradient fall back. So it also is really important to remember where you're standing when you're painting and that you are directly in front of your section or where you want your section to fall. But now I am moving around with the front because I want these to match up with the back. And I'm kind of putting a little bit of a diagonal angle as I feather down because some of her front pieces are obviously going to be shorter with the face framing. So it's a little easier if you pull the section forward, just like when you're lightening or when you're cutting. Pulling it forward a little bit is going to give you that gradient diagonal effect without even having to do it all the way yourself. I'll still paint it down, pulling a little bit more toward the back of my section, as you can see. But for the most part, like when I'm here pulling it forward toward her face, it's going to really help me get that effect that I want. And then I'm going to do this section here and then keep moving around my circle because I really want to keep everything even so that it will all match up together. But you can see how I split those sections. Saturation is key with semi-permanent color. So you always want your sections to be really small at the base. And then as you come down the hair and the density is less, you can have a little bit of a bigger section. But I am really blending and pulling those colors down and really trying to be aware of how far I'm pulling it down. And if you need to use like a mesh or a foil just so that you feel like you know exactly where it's lying, you absolutely can. I trusted myself to follow the pattern without that. But I do use it in episode 5, and you can see how you can do it in that one as well. It's a little easier to keep track of, especially when you're dealing with different layers and lengths. But real quick, you can see how I'm pulling it toward that side and not straight down because I want that gradient effect. Same thing over here. I'm going to stand in front of how I want my section to fall, and I'm pulling it a little bit toward the front of her face. So always go to the side and not the back. If you were wanting it to cascade forward, then you could go to the back, but I want everything to match up like I'm checking here, and I want it to cascade back in a really nice gradient. And now I am blending in my pink now that I know that those two sides match up great. And then same thing with my yellow. And now I have just like a little circle basically on top of the head because everything is matched up equally, and just making my way around. Same thing here, doing my little diagonal and then pulling forward and melting into my pink. Also, it looks like I'm just like maniacally smiling for no reason, but we were watching something funny and laughing. So I don't just walk around like a Stepford wife with a smile on my face. So just want to make sure that we're clear, because as I was editing this, I was like, oh my God, you're just standing there smiling. What are you doing? It's really funny. We're watching Very Important People. And if you haven't heard of it, I highly suggest watching it because it is so ridiculous. But we are doing the same thing back here, taking my top sections, splitting them in half, melting down that orange first, making sure they're even. And now since the ends, I can take a little more hair. I'm doing my orange before I do my tips, making sure they match up. And then I can come through with my pink and my yellow. And really, really blending once again because we don't want any harsh lines. But these two colors, like I was saying, are going to melt so good into that orange. You cannot go wrong when you stick with the color wheel. So everything is always going to go back to the color wheel when it comes to anything having to do with hair color. So as long as you know that, you are going to be set. And same thing over here. And you can see how I pull the hair apart, making sure that everything is saturated and hitting those ends. And then this will be our final section over here, doing the exact same thing, pulling it down, kind of keeping a little bit of a diagonal line to keep it a little longer toward the back of her head and a little shorter toward her face frame pieces. And then gonna melt down my yellow, and we are done. I rinsed her out with ice cold water and finished it off with K18 mask, the volumizing spray, heat bounce, and the K18 oil, as well as my leaf and flower frizz remedy and 7-minute blowout. Here is our beautiful after. Oh, so gorgeous. The perfect spring hair. And here is without the butterfly clips, so you can see our beautiful melt. I love it so much. She looks so cute in everything that we do, but look at how perfect that melt is. Absolutely love it. Couldn't have a more perfect spring color. But thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out with me for another tutorial. I will see you next Monday. Please like and subscribe. Leave me a comment if there's something you would like to see in the future. And I will see you next Monday. Bye.